How we doing all? So, there we go. Keeping up this, we're doing another interview. Got another female fighter coming on that we're plugging. Fighter who actually has a fight coming up. Just going to add her to the chat now. So I want to big up Nicola. Oh, where do I go? Add to stream. We're good. How are we?
Hi.
Yeah, we're good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm really good, really good. So, probably your second fighter I've had on so far this month. Second female fighter, also upcoming as well. So, ladies and gents, for everyone in the chat, this is Nicola Hurricane Hopewell. You are currently 2-0 as a boxer. You have a fight coming up next week, isn't it, on Fight TV?
Yeah, next Saturday.
Next Saturday. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a bit about, your record. You're currently super flyweight, super fly/flyweight, kind of in that kind of weight division. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I always try and let the fighter kind of give their kind of tell their story as well, instead of just yourself, the generic questions like how's camp, how's this. It's like no, let you to tell the story about how you got into boxing and just kind of what your kind of style is and kind of what you're looking to achieve.
Okay, so I started boxing about 7 years ago now, and I did amateur for 6 years. So I just basically went to the gym to get fit with one of my friends. It was one of the things that I left school. I used to go dancing as well, so I went dancing from being age 5 to 17. And then from then, I just got a job and didn't do anything else. And then the boxing club opened, and my friend said, "Oh, shall we nip down, see what it's like?" Because they were doing like a woman's fitness sort of class. So I went down there with her, and I just took to it really. So then I started upping my training, learning all the basics and the skills and everything. And my coach said, "Oh, what do you think about having a fight?" And I were a bit unsure at first. It was a bit new to me, so and I weren't sure about being punched in the face. But then I tried sparring, got my medical, and then I did sparring and stuff. And then I got in the ring, and then my first amateur fight, I stopped my opponent in the 3rd round, and then after that, I knew it was something I wanted to do. So I just kept going really, and then I did 6 years amateur, and I won 3 belts. One of them were a best overseas boxer belt when I went to Ireland competing in the Box Cup. Then I had a Central England belt and then an East Midlands belt, and then I've done loads of Box Cups and got golds and silvers, and then I've competed in the ABA championships. I've got as far as the final, but I've never won the ABAs. I always had to come up against the GB girls, the ones that train at EIS, and being flyweight in amateurs as well. That's an Olympic weight as well. So I always come up against that person that we're going to Commonwealth Games or Olympics. So but
they're full-time amateurs pretty much.
Yeah, they're full-time amateurs training at the GB setup in Sheffield. So I didn't do bad in amateurs really. I had 32 fights and I won 23 of them. And then I guess it just got to that point where I was boxing the same people. Because I did have 32 fights, but 4 of them were with the same girl. So it was kind of I was going around in circles because the pool isn't that big. So then my coach said to me "What do you think about going pro?" Because we'd already had at this point the pro side were quite new to our gym as well. But we had one lad that had 1 fight and won it, and then it was after that, and he said, "What do you think about it?" And I was a bit unsure because it was all new to me because I was comfortable in it, and it was all new, no head guards, smaller gloves, doing training camps, because I'm always constantly ready in amateurs because you can get a phone call Thursday saying you're boxing Saturday sort of thing. So one of the things I'm always ready. I never did a fight camp sort of thing, and pro's different to amateur anyway. So eventually, after thinking about it, I turned pro, and then I had my debut March in 2020, just before COVID hit, and then I had another fight on the 4th of September. That one behind closed doors though, that one on Fight TV, and then this one I'm doing on 24th. It's been pushed back quite a few times. I think it was originally supposed to happen in November, so it's finally happening next Saturday.
Yeah. That's the kind of problem with turning pro, like in like this kind of time, is that you were lucky, like you got your debut with fans and your next fight's
Yeah.
behind closed doors. But now it's kind of like with shows, you could get a date and you could be literally like probably about a week out and something could happen to coach or something like that, and then it's pushed right back. So like that's kind of like the catch-22 like of being a pro, especially nowadays, because like I was only doing just a little bit of research on like just just kind of some of the small hall promoters there only last week, and it's like so many small hall shows for up and coming fighters in like 2019 that are just gone now. So like for someone like yourself who is just kind of fighting on a fight by fight basis, until you can obviously get something, you get some more breakout fights, it's obviously hard to just kind of stay active because you don't know when the next fight's going to be, and there's not as much kind of options out there as there would have been, say 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You like saying yourself, you only kind of went to a boxing gym just for fitness. Like you obviously when you went in there for the first time, envisioned like in a couple of years time, like, oh yeah, I'll be fighting pro on like Fight TV. That was probably like out there. How long kind of was it? Was it really just kind of like quick all of a sudden, like the coaches recognized there's something there? Or did you kind of just think like to yourself, it'd always be just kind of fitness? It was really only kind of when you started boxing amateur, you realized, maybe we can see where this goes?
I think it was about I think it was like October or November when I started going down, because I think it was October, because there was no boxing gym until this one opened. So that's why I didn't like do it before, sort of thing. Because there wasn't one. And then I think, it was October or November time that I started going down. And then just after like the New Year, so probably January, I started going to like the other like boxing class where I could start doing like pads, bags, fitness, sparring, stuff like that. And then I had my first amateur fight in the following October, so about 12 months. But really, cool. I was just going for fitness from like until the New Year started, and then that's when I started upping my days. So it was only like probably 9 months probably from properly starting boxing.
It's crazy because like you hear kind of so many stories about that, and more so nowadays because people use boxing for fitness. Like before it was always, oh, but I found boxing through this, or my brother did, or something like that. Whereas now it's like, well, they do box fit and all that. Is that people? It's kind of good because people like yourself can get into it. They can go for fitness, and then they can end up, as a result of that, turning pro, which is kind of crazy. Like to think like how far like little things like that, boxing fitness has come over the last few years.
It is crazy. I just went for something to do with my friend, and then suddenly I'm like winning these amateur fights and then turning professional.
In terms of like your pro, like obviously I know, as I said, it's a bit kind of all over the place the way it is with now. What are the goals for Nicola Hopewell as a pro? Like, is it just to kind of, for this year, maybe just kind of take it easy and just kind of keep gradually learning as a pro? Or are you chasing, bigger fights this year or next year?
I think this year, well, I want bigger fights and I want to like box for belts and titles and stuff. But when the time's right, like I need to carry on. I've only had 2 fights, so I want to carry on learning, and that's probably going to be the rest of this year. Maybe I might get something at the end of the year, but I think it's important, like for me to learn as well, because I know I have 32 amateur fights, but I guess it's not massive amount of experience, and I've only had 2 pro fights, so I guess I just want to get out there and get some experience, and then hopefully the opportunities will come. But if the opportunities did come soon, like I won't say no, I'd take it, and I put everything into it. So
you look at kind of someone like Rachel Ball, who kind of was just floating around, not really, she had the loss over in Norway and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden she just takes a fight with Shannon Courtney, and all of a sudden now she's fighting on Matchroom shows. Is it kind of something like that you're kind of looking at, where it's just to try and kind of build a profile, but just hope and stay focused and wait for that kind of call? Hopefully it'll come and show people what you can actually do, because you've 2 knockouts in your first 2 fights as well. I think they're both quite early, weren't they? Was there one in the first round, one in the second round, wasn't it?
Yeah, my first fight, that was in the second round, and then my second fight was in the first round.
So looking to keep that knockout streak going in this fight.
Well, I'll try. And it was the same sort of combination as well that stopped them both. So
what was the combination?
It like just head and body, but like I think I was finishing to my right hook, were finishing to the head. like with like body head. And then when I look at them both, they're both very similar, very similar combination, but head body constantly.
You were originally meant to rematch one of your past opponents. Is that still the case going into this fight, or is it up in the air kind of with the opponent?
I was the one from September. I was supposed to rematch it because they did ask me on the post fight interview what's next for me, and in the background she shouted over rematch, even though I'd stopped her in the first round. So I just said while I was doing the interview. But I think for this fight, I've got a good step up. The rematch might come in the future, and I have said that I'll do it. Like, I'll honour the rematch for her if she really wants it. But for this fight, I am having a bit of a step up. My opponent's had 13 fights, where I've only had 2. So
at this stage, is it kind of more about getting, like, obviously, as I said, like, you've 2 knockouts in 2 fights, which is nice. It looks good, but is it more about just kind of getting those rounds in the banker's approach, just so you know yourself, like, if it's a 4 round or 6 round, just so I know that I can do these rounds at a decent pace. And you know, as some people say, like, they kind of get a bit over anxious in the fight to show and impress, and they look for a knockout when they know realistically just getting the rounds, keeping it at a decent pace, you know, staying disciplined is nearly better than actually just getting the knockout in terms of experience. Is that kind of what you're looking for, just to get rounds in? Because you said, you know, you fought amateur, you had over 30 fights, but as you said, a lot of them were the same person. Like, you fought the same person 4 times. So it's kind of more about seeing different styles, because if you fight the same person 4 times, it's kind of almost like a spar at that stage. You just know them that well.
And then obviously, like, so early in my career as well, like, I've only had 2 fights, so why do I need to do rematches now when there's other girls that I can be boxing? Like, because the coach has already said to me, be prepared to go up or down a weight to get fights. So I don't know why I'd want to rematch like straight away. I need some fights under my belt first, I think, and then if they still want a rematch, then I'll do it. But I think there's plenty of girls for us, for us both to have different fights first.
Moving forward, what would be your ideal weight? Because as you interestingly said there, you're happy to go up or down in weight. But if they said, right, Nicola, this is your ideal perfect weight, what would it be? Kind of flyweight, bantamweight, superfly?
I'd stick at superfly as my ideal weight. Yeah, it's ideal for me. I walk around not much higher anyway. I'll probably walk around bantamweight. But then once I start training and start like eating clean and stuff, my weight soon comes off. I actually weighed at the gym tonight, and I'm actually at the bottom end of flyweight. So I shouldn't be struggling next week.
No. It's interesting because Rachel Ball has said in a few interviews that she could probably easily do super flyweight.
Really?
So who knows? Yeah, I remember she said that going into her last fight back in November, because I think there was remember she meant to fight Ebony, and then there was kind of issues with weight. I remember in one of her IFL interviews, she actually said that, like, realistically, if she had to, she could do super fly. So who knows? That might be a domestic clash at some stage.
I actually
who knows?
Yeah, at our gym, who's probably the same height as Rachel Ball.
She is tall. I think she's like 5'9", 5'10". Like, and I wonder, like, I could just picture her and Ebony, if they did have that fight, it would literally be like, it'd be strange. Like, I remember I used to work in a job where the manager and like the assistant manager, the manager was 6'4" and the assistant manager was 5'2". When I used to see them walk together, it was like the craziest thing ever. It was just like, you see this little lad, and he was like a twig to the tall guy. So it was just, I can imagine it'd be something like that as well. Like,
I'm not the tallest people, but when I was in amateurs and boxing at flyweight, I was always the taller one, if you know what I mean. Because I think I'm quite short. I think I'm 5'2". I think 5'2", 5'3". Yes. So I always think I'm quite small compared to other people. But then when I was boxing flyweight, I was always tallest. It was a bit mad.
There must be some people that's like under 5 foot, like 4'10" or something like that. That's crazy. I can't even picture that. Like, I look at people like, and I think they're like 5'5", and I'm just like, Jesus, mate, you are tiny. When I see people that size, it's like, if I see someone 5'2", it's like, damn, what's going on? In terms of fights, right, that we've seen, weekend we saw Ebony Bridges versus Shannon Courtney. What were your thoughts on that? Because I watched that fight, I thought it was close. I thought that Sky did a pretty bad job commentating on that fight, I have to be honest with you. What were your thoughts on it, and how do you feel it was?
I thought it was a really good fight, and I think Ebony did really well, to be honest. And like you said, like, and with that eye as well, and she carried on going, like, it's just amazing. Like, what a warrior. But I had it closer than what, and then Sky doing, like, with the commentary, didn't really get that.
That's Adam Smith for you.
Acknowledge that Ebony was even there. They were like, she was throwing punches, and then they were praising Shannon. Like, and then Ebony catching them all, like, and parrying them away, blocking them with runs. And then they were praising Shannon, and they were like, the punch aren't even getting through. But I think it's just what they do. They just seem to favour the home fighter, but it's not fair.
I think Adam Smith is like, he should be a great like PR guy as opposed to a commentator, because he does such a good job of it. But yeah, that was the one thing about that fight that was annoying, because it was a good fight and Ebony's eye looked messed up at the end, which did obviously hinder her. But when you see like shots she's landing, and good shots as well, then we're getting like the background on Shannon Courtney at the same time, is like terrific. As I said, PR would be brilliant, but commentating, maybe get Barry Jones in there or someone like that, you know.
Yeah.
Or Andy Clark. Andy Clark's not bad. What about Savannah Marshall? We've seen her, you know, the late notice opponent, and obviously, like, yes, she's the only person to ever stop her, but obviously she took it, I think, 5 days notice. Talk about her and Clarissa Shields. That's a good fight. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that'd be a good fight, and I think it'd be a close one as well. And I think Savannah could actually win that fight.
Honestly, you say it's close, but honestly, like, I would make Savannah Marshall firm favorite in that fight.
Yeah.
Seriously, I'd make her firm favorite in that fight. I've seen Clarissa Shields; she is a good fighter. I give her that, but I don't know. I think with Clarissa Shields that she looks too much at that. I think that the loss she had to Savannah Marshall plays up on her too much, and for some fighters that can be a good thing, but for her, I think it's the opposite end. I think that could make her fight too recklessly, and like, she's already talking about knockouts and stuff. And you know, if you go and trade with Savannah Marshall, you do that at your own risk. So I'd favour Savannah Marshall heavily in that fight.
I think Savannah would win that fight. Yeah, I think it'd be a good fight though.
I think it'd be an excellent fight, and I think Eddie Hearn said that that's standalone. Like, if he's doing that, he wants to do it as the top of a bill, like maybe with Katy Taylor or someone on.
That'd be good. That'd be good.
I think that'd be great. I think it's a good. I think it's a fight that I want to see as well. It's intriguing. I think the build up as well, like that would, the way like Clarissa Shields is, and I think it'd be great. I think it'd be, you know, a hell of a fight. I think it'd be hell of a build up. In terms of other fights we have a big fight this weekend. All right, we've got Liam Williams versus Demetrius Andre. I want to know your thoughts on that fight, because I'm asking loads of people on that fight, and everyone seems split. What are you thinking?
Do you know what? I didn't even know they were boxing. I'm not a boxing follower. So yeah, I've not really. I didn't really know.
It's because I thought Liam Williams is like the everyone's building him to be the next. You know, he's going to win this title. So I just assumed. So no, that's going to be a good fight. It's on the Saturday, but you be fighting that day, so I can't imagine. I think it's actually on UK time. So I'd say like that'd be the least of your like kind of concerns if you're fighting on the same day.
I'll have a look into that one, but I've not really seen much about that.
In terms of like kind of other fights we have up and coming, we'll talk more about females. Katy Taylor and Tasha Jonas. How do you see that?
That's going to be a good fight as well.
I think when I look back at their fight they had in the amateurs in 2012, it was Katy Taylor pretty much dominated. They've obviously both improved since then. I think that like Natasha Jonas, some people say that she was unlucky against Terry Harper. I thought that fight was close. I thought it was a draw personally, but she showed me that there is a lot more to her game than I thought there was. So I think that fight is if that Terry Harper fight hadn't happened, I would have looked at this and just thought, oh, that's a pretty straightforward fight for Katy Taylor. But having seen that, makes me kind of look forward to this a little bit more. It makes me think that there's more intrigue in this fight than there was.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good fight. And like you said, like when she boxed Terry Harper, that was a close fight. And I think people had kind of wrote her off a little bit, and then she proved them wrong and gave everyone a good fight. So yeah, I think her and Katy is going to be a good fight. And
How did you see the fight with Terry?
You what? Sorry.
How did you see the fight with Terry?
I thought it was close. Did it end up as a draw? It did,
It
didn't
ended
it?
as a draw, yeah. It ended as a draw. Now it was kind of up in the air. Like you could have had it either way, I think.
I think it could have gone either way. I think probably draw was best outcome for it because it was close, wasn't it?
It was, but you know, you kind of do know who kind of would edge it when you see like that draw was announced and you saw kind of Terry Harper be kind of relieved, but Natasha Jonas was like
Yeah,
furious.
like Tash
So that's
like
kind of when you,
off.
yeah, that's kind of when you can tell like kind of who maybe if you wanted to give a decision to who should have got it. But I thought a draw was fair due, to be honest with you. You yourself, if it wasn't for boxing, right, and if you weren't fighting at all, what would Nicola Hopewell be doing? What would her career path be?
I don't know. Probably I'd probably just try and do. I'd probably just try and get promotions and stuff in my own job. Because I've got a full-time job as well, so I'll probably concentrate on that and probably just go to a normal gym just for fitness and keep fit. That's probably all I'd do.
It's always weird when I ask that question because it always kind of takes people, like fighters, back by surprise because they're just like, I never even thought of what I do without boxing.
Yeah.
And then it's like they're kind of on the back foot because they're just like, I don't think of myself as anything other than a boxer.
I think it's because it takes so much of like your life and like it's such a big part of your life. You'd be lost without it. Like I guess like when I'm out of camp, like I still go to the gym and I still train, but like when I've had my fight, I'll probably have a few days off. But then I'll like go to work, come home, and then I'm like, oh, what do I do now? Sort of thing. But even though I'm having that few days off to rest, and you're just like, oh, what shall I do?
You get into such a routine with the training, so it's like you wake up, train, go to work, train. It's just kind of you take that away, you're kind of like a fish out of water almost.
Yeah, and you've got all this spare time that you don't know what to do with.
I think that happens to a lot of us. Like I know when the gyms are closed here still, and when they closed originally, I was just like, what do I do? I'm used to just waking up, train, work, and maybe do a bit more training. And now it's like, what the hell? Like, so I can only imagine. And like, it's different for fighters; they can still train. So I can only imagine what it was for like you guys when everything kind of shut down last year. It was just like, what the hell?
I didn't know what to do with myself. I would train at home because I was working from home as well. So I was like working a little bit, and then I'd like do a bit of a run at dinner time, and then I'd finish work, and then like I'd set a circuit or something up in garden, getting my hands on anything that I could to like use as weights and stuff like that because I like went to buy some weights online and everything is sold out. I don't know if you noticed that, but I tried like setting a bit of a gym up. I mean, I've got some stuff now, but that went until like weeks into that first lockdown. I was just like getting my hands on anything to see what I could do.
Crazy. In terms of like sporting heroes, not just boxing, we'll talk about boxing in a sec, but in terms of like Nicola Hopewell sporting heroes, who are your sporting heroes? In any sport. It doesn't have to be boxing. Any sport.
Boxing. I'll do boxing first. Nicola Adams. So it was kind of like Nicola Adams watching her in the Olympics, and then obviously I just started going to the gym at this point as well. So I was kind of watching her and following her a little bit, and then I think it was the last professional fight that she had. She was training at Ingles, and they'd asked me to go over and spar her. So I went over quite a few times and got some rounds in with her, which were really good. So it was like she was like my boxing hero and who I looked up to. But then I also got the chance to spar her as well, ready for a pro fight. So that was really exciting for me. And then football, I'm a big Sheffield United fan. I don't have to admit that at the minute.
Yeah, it's not a good time to be a Sheffield United fan.
It's not. I'd say my favourite Sheffield United player is Billy Sharp. He's a good player.
Billy Sharp. Phil Jagielka. Get a name on that?
Oh, yeah. Him as well. I can't think of anyone else that's not boxing and football.
Nah, but I know it's not been a good time for them. So they'd be kind of your sporting heroes. In terms of like in boxing, not necessarily sporting heroes, but who, pound for pound, we'll stick with females, pound for pound female fighters, what would your pound for pound, or even just your favourite fighters in general, what would it look like? If you were to name, it doesn't have to be in any order.
Katy Taylor, like pound for pound. Like she's really good. And then favourites. There's so many. there's so many females. Like you've got Katy Taylor, you've got Terry Harper. I've sparred Terry as well at her gym. Ebony Bridges, she's one of my favourites. She's my pal as well. So
I'm determined to get her on for an interview sometime.
Oh yeah,
determined.
Keep on at her. She's good. Bless her.
Just thinking of the banter.
You are.
Just thinking of the banter. I mean, I mentioned Sky. I mean, just mention Sky. I'll have a rant and I'll have like proper
you
gold.
You'll
like
get a wedding, anyways.
Yeah, the minute I mention Adam Smith and Sky, that's it. YouTube will probably take it down, demonetized.
You're right there. And then male boxers. I like AJ. He's a good boxer. Lomachenko, Canelo. I like all them.
In terms of AJ, I know you were saying you don't follow the men as much, but AJ Fury is kind of the fight most people would know. If we think we get that fight, who would you have?
This is a hard one because I keep changing my mind, because I think AJ's got a good chin, like if he gets hit, and then like I think his punch power is good, but then I think Fury, he's kind of the better boxer and got the footwork and the movement, and I don't know who's going to win.
On the fences?
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's maybe Fury.
I think that's kind of the way it is. You have like people who are like dead set. It's either AJ Fury, and then there's the rest who are just like.
I think if you think about
one or the other.
What are their strengths? But then it's how they are on the night as well, isn't it? And it's how what have they been training? So it can go either way. It's boxing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's heavyweight boxers, but I think we're guaranteed a good fight either way with those two guys. I can't see anything like other than a good fight with them two. So if that fight does get made, and it's going to be as big as to make it out, I can't see it not delivering. You know, in terms of it'd be a bit kind of like there's a lot of fights like that you could talk about, big fights that you could think they might underachieve, but I think that if we got like Clarissa and Savannah, I think that's a fight that would just catch fire from instant. I think they're the kind of fights like that.
And they build it up as well.
Before, because we've been on for nearly half an hour, so I'm going to call here. But before we go, is there anything you want to say, anyone you want to give a shout out to, or even just tell people a bit more, because it's a bit more in the chat now, so even just tell people like about your fight coming up this weekend, and if there's anyone you want to name, feel free, it's yours.
Okay, so yeah, in my fight is next Saturday on the 24th. It's live on Fight TV on the app, and it's free to view as well. It's on some other sporting channels as well, like digital networks. So I'll post that on my Twitter and my Instagram and my Facebook page as well. So all the info is there. And a shout out to my sponsors. So KC Sofas, Round One Boxing, Cost Cutter in Mansfield, Jack Ball Nutrition, and Richards Boxing. Them guys need a big shout out because they get me through my camps and really supportive as well. So. And also thanks to my coach, Chris Boyle, as well. I'll give Chris a shout out.
Big up to Chris.
Yeah.
Big up every time.
Yeah.
Big Chris. Well, I just got to say thanks for coming on. I appreciate you taking the time out. I am week away from your fight, so appreciate that. Short notice, I know it was. But no, I appreciate that. I'm going to call the interview here. It's going to be available for everyone to watch. I hope you all enjoy. And I hope if, we can, I'll definitely have a look at your fight this weekend. We can all check out your fight. Definitely send me a link on Twitter. I'll watch it. I'll happily watch it. I appreciate this. For now, I'm just going to leave it all here. Everyone in the chat, I can't get to everyone's questions because obviously I'm doing interviews. I'm looking at that. I'm looking at Nicola. I'm not looking at the chat. But thanks to everyone who did leave me questions. I kindly ignored them. But next time I do an interview, I'll read them. All right. Next time when your next fight comes up, I'll definitely get you on again. And I'll try and read a few of the questions this time. Okay. But thanks for everyone. Nicola, I appreciate this. For now, I'm just going to call it quits here.
No, thank you.
No worries.